Okay, good morning, members, and welcome to the February meeting of the Angus Licensing Board. Are there any apologies for absence, please, Mrs. Anderson?
There's no apologies, convener.
Okay, thank you very much. Any declarations of interest? No. Okay. Members, agenda item number 3, minutes of the previous meeting. We have submitted before us for approval as a correct record the minute of meeting of this board held on the 14th of January 2021. Do we agree that they are a true record of that meeting?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 4, premises licenses, request to vary it under the Licensing Scotland Act 2005. And the first one is the Golf Inn, 15 to 17 Mill Street, Montrose. And I believe Mr. Young is to be speaking to this application. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Young, the screen is yours. You may speak to your application. And then there may be questions from members afterwards.
Yeah, no problem. This application is to do with, we currently have a large cellar space and we're converting at least, I would say, half of it into a kitchen so we can develop and diversify a little bit and do bar meals, mostly bar snacks, to be honest with you, but just a bit of diversification just to try and change things up a bit. We've gone through various planning permissions and things like that. It's currently with the architect and we're hoping to start, if we get permission, to start probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks with works, which will take 2 to 3 weeks. We're also looking to open at 11 o'clock on a Sunday. This is probably just linked in with the kitchen and things like that, because we're obviously going to start doing coffees and things like that. And that's just basically it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions from members? Comments? Okay, we have the description of the variation in front of us. It's quite straightforward and it's all within policy. I'm going to move that we grant that.
Councillor Boyd is moving to speak.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Boyd.
Thank you, Councillor Fotheringham. It's just a quick thing. Wishing them all the best with this as a comment. I did notice that you mentioned the word bar snacks, and this is a little bit of friendly advice. I'm sure Daniel would agree with us. We have to be very careful as we come out of lockdown, not knowing what the lockdown rules will be, not to use the word snacks. So it's done with all good intentions, just to make sure that as we move forward, it's very innovative what you're doing, but just be careful with the word snacks. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you, Councillor Boyd. Okay, members, again, we have the variation in front of us, straightforward, and it's all within policy. I'm going to move that we grant this. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, Mr. Young, your variation has been granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Members, the next item is description variation is the South Esk Inn, 35 Worth Street in Montrose. And I believe it's Tracy Douglas that's going to speak to this one.
Yes, hello there.
Good morning. Morning. Okay, Tracy, you may speak to your application. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Yes, we have submitted an application for 1 or 2 changes to our licence. A couple of very small things like the 11 AM Sunday opening to just bring it in line with the rest of the days. The extra days, statutory day for Christmas as well, the opening times, bringing again it into line with the Christmas, New Year and Hogmanay, Christmas Day, Christmas Eve and Hogmanay. But the main thing that we've asked for is just to slight change of use, as we've now got a food prep area, which has been passed by the Environmental Health. And we wish to be serving light lunches such as soup and sandwich, hot pie and beans, things like that, or buffet food, like we do food platters, wish to do food platters. We'll be serving most of these lunches, most of the food in the lounge bar, so have requested that children be allowed during the hours of 12 till 8 PM, 12 midday till 8 PM, solely for the purpose of the food, nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members? Any comments? Councillor Boyd?
It would be remiss of me to not say this to this application as well. Just be careful. Daniel has been excellent at keeping the people right or passing on to environmental health what constitutes light meals and meals. It's just with all the different legislations that are going on, I don't want you to find yourself falling foul of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boyd. Councillor Durno?
Just following up with having the children in the pub, you know, we have to have baby changing areas and things nowadays, you know, places for feeding mums and things, you know, with breastfeeding mums in the pubs. And so just to make sure that you have enough room for doing things like that, because we'll have to keep it for everybody now.
Mr. Convener, may I speak to that?
Yes, Mr. Coleman, of course.
Thank you. Councillor Durno, the baby changing requirements is a mandatory condition when under 5-year-olds are permitted. That's not the case in this circumstances. 5 to 17-year-olds only would not be a mandatory condition in that case.
That's great, Daniel. Sorry, I just heard children and I just...
Sorry.
Thanks.
No, that's okay. Anyone else? Comments? No, okay, then we have the description of the variation in front of us. Number 1, the terminal hours amend Sunday commencement hour to 11 AM for on and off sales. That's within policy. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Number 2, activities, bar meals consisting of light meals such as soup, sandwich, pie and beans, meat and cheese platters and buffet. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
The children and young persons, 3A to E, are they agreed?
Agreed.
And number 4 is the seasonal variation at Christmas Eve, Boxing Day and New Year's Day. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Okay then, Mr. and Mrs. Douglas, your variation has been granted. Thank you very much, and it's nice to see you again out with Kerry Muir.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, members, the next one is, just scroll down, is the Anchor Bar, 70 Ferry Street in Montrose. And it's Mr. David Donald that's going to speak to this. So, Mr. Donald, you've seen the first 2 applicants. It's just the same procedures for yourself, and there may be questions or comments from members afterwards, so you may speak to your application. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
This application refers to the proposed beer garden at the rear of the Anchor Bar. I thought during the climate it would be a good idea to have an outdoor drinking space for the customers coming in. Purely because some people might actually want to sit outside rather than sit inside due to the COVID-19. And basically that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members? Comments? Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Convener. It's actually a question for the applicant. I noticed that he's asked for outdoor drinking facilities within core hours, but Environmental and Consumer Protection have brought in their condition that it doesn't go beyond 2100. Is that acceptable to the applicant?
Yes, that's acceptable, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's our standard condition anyway, Councillor Moore, so it would have to be acceptable. There's no variation on that one, I don't think. Okay, members, we have the description of the variation in front of us. You'll see the comments received from ECP, which is what Councillor Moore's just mentioned. So description of the variation is to add outdoor drinking facilities within core hours to include the proposed beer garden and designated smoking shelter with the usual conditions on the outside drinking area not to be used beyond 2100 hours. So on that basis, I'm going to move that we grant this application. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Donald, your variation has been granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, the next one is Aldi Stores, Western Road in Montrose. Montrose is certainly doing well today. And it's Mr. Michael McDougall is the agent for Aldi. Mr. McDougall, good morning.
Good morning, Convener. Good morning, Your Honours.
You need no introduction to procedure here, so I'll just let you carry on. Thank you.
Obliged, Convener. Just for the record, I also have on the call with me Sean Feely, who's an area manager for Aldi. He's also here as well. As your honours will see from your papers, this is an application that seeks to amend the licence to introduce permission for click and collect and home deliveries. I'm pleased to note there are no objections or adverse reports. I think it's fair to say that Aldi, like many retailers, have been considering how best to adapt to changes in society and make sure their stores are accessible to everybody. And click and collect and home delivery facilities are a key part of this. This application has been lodged as Aldi's Montrose store. I'm pleased to say it's been selected as one of 2 pilot stores in Scotland to have a click and collect service. Your Honours will also note that the application seeks permission for home deliveries. Just to be clear, the home delivery service hasn't yet been lodged, but we're asking for permission for this, so to have that flexibility to introduce it when it is launched. In terms of the practicalities for the click and collect service, I can advise that when an order's been packed by the store, if alcohol is included in the order, then that's clearly flagged so that staff, when they're delivering it to the car, are aware there's alcohol. So there's 2 car parking spaces in the car park that are allocated for this. So when a member of the public attends at a time slot, they phone the store to let them know they're there, and then their shopping's brought out to them. If the order contains alcohol or another age-restricted product, then an age verification check is carried out, Challenge 25 will be applied, and ID will be requested as normal. If the customer fails the Challenge 25 check, then alcohol is returned to the store and money is refunded. The store's refusal book, as you'd expect, would also be updated. In terms of their due diligence here, I think it's useful to note that as far as I'm aware, Aldi do not cause police or licensing standards officers in your jurisdiction any issues, and I've acted for Aldi for a number of years, and I can say that's the case throughout Scotland. Aldi pride themselves upon robust due diligence and licensing compliance, and it will be the same for these new services. In terms of click and collect and due diligence, as I've said, Challenge 25, and when the customer's making an order online, they'll be prompted will be reminded that alcohol is an age-restricted product, etc. For home deliveries, like I say, that's not currently offered, but I can advise that Aldi's taking advice on this, and there will be robust due diligence with age verification prompts on the website and also at point of delivery, so customers are left in no doubt that ID is required. Delivery drivers would be checking the customer's age, and if the ID checks failed, then alcohol will be returned to the store. For the avoidance of doubt, the delivery has to be signed for, and it's only delivered to the address in question. Any refusal will be recorded and reviewed by management in the usual way. And in conclusion, I would suggest to your honours it's a good application that affords the applicant important flexibility, and I think the importance of these services has been highlighted by the pandemic. I commend the application, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Coleman, your hand was up first.
Thank you, Mr. Convener. Just a reminder to the applicant of their duties under Section 119 of the Licence of Scotland Act. When you've got delivery for alcohol, you must have a day book kept in the premises and a delivery book or invoice carried by the person delivering the alcohol. And indeed, I doubt they'll be doing this, but Section 120 also prohibits the delivery of alcohol between midnight and 6 o'clock in the morning. But just a reminder of the statutory obligations in the Licence of Scotland Act.
I'm grateful to Mr. Coleman for that reminder, and that is the type of thing that's been built into Aldi's due diligence and their procedures when it comes to delivering alcohol. There are no doubt as to their obligations under the 2005 Act, so that's useful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moore? Richard, you're on mute.
Thank you. With the click and collect, you've said how you'll do Challenge 25. The customer rings to say that at the store out it comes. Now, I know with other stores, they specify that even if the store's opening at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, no alcohol will be taken out to the customer till 10. Will that be the case with yourselves?
Yes, that's quite clear, Your Honours, that the alcohol sales can't happen until 10 AM, or so there'll be no alcohol delivered until 10 AM or afterwards.
And what hours will your delivery service be making deliveries until?
To be honest, Your Honour, just because the home delivery service hasn't been launched, that isn't set in stone, but I imagine the deliveries wouldn't take place after 10 p.m. and certainly the terms of Act would be complied with in terms of the delivery times.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Any other questions? No. Comments? Councillor Boyd?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Fornham. Yes, no, it sounds all fine with me. I think Aldi do operate their premises very well. This is excellent. I'll just do my little commercial break just now. That the only place where they don't have planning for an Aldi is in the area of South Angus, and so if we are to approve this today, just remember that very close to where our neighbouring borough that are not allowing new licences at any time, we are very much open for business in Angus, and it'd be lovely to see you in South Angus. Thank you.
I'll pass that back to the client, Your Honour. Thank you.
That was a nice little plug, Councillor Boyd. Well done. Councillor Whiteside.
Thanks, Convener. It's just a general comment. It's good to see businesses adapting to the current situation, and I wish them well. I think all our applications so far have been really straightforward, and it shows a desire to continue business in a difficult situation. So good luck with that.
Thank you, Councillor Whiteside. Councillor King?
Yes, Convener, thank you. After Councillor Boyd's commercial break, I'll just come in with one myself, because I understand that Aldi are possibly one of the firms who are going to go on to the extension to the Westway in a commercial park in Arbroath when it finally gets going. So I would hope the rumour mill there is correct in that case.
Mr. McDougall, do you want to come back? You probably don't know anything about that.
I'm not entirely sure, but something certainly, I'm sure Aldi are always expanding and looking at potential sites, so fingers crossed that's one of them.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No. Okay, then we have the description in front of us. It's just one operating plan, add click and collect service and online sales within and out with core hours. Very straightforward, so I'm going to move that we grant this. Is that agreed, members?
Agreed.
Thank you very much, Mr. McDougall and Mr. Feely. The application has been granted. Good to see you again, and we may see you in the future.
Yes, thank you, Your Honours, I'm obliged. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Members, the next one is the Ruse Leap 2 Trail Drive in Montrose. And we have Miss Jackie Burrell, the agent, and Chris Beattie, the applicant. So again, Ms. Burrell, you don't need any introduction here. The screen is yours to speak to the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Convener. Good morning, Your Honours. This is a major variation application which is seeking to extend the offering at the restaurant following the devastating effect that COVID-19 restrictions have had. The application seeks to bring forward the opening time of the restaurant to include the sale of alcohol from 11 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Wilson.
Sorry, someone else speaking?
Yes, it's all right. I think that the police had their microphone on.
Oh, right, okay.
Someone else, but they've muted it now.
Right, okay. So the application is seeking to bring forward the opening time of the restaurant to include the sale of alcohol from 11 a.m. to 9 a.m. to provide champagne breakfast, Bolognese, Prosecco, etc. The application is also seeking to include new activities of bar meals, receptions, club and other group meetings and live performances to take place during and out with core hours. Restaurant facilities, televised sport, outdoor drinking, which currently only take place during core hours, we're looking to permit these activities out with core hours as well. Gaming has also been included. Any activities which take place out with the core hours, that is before the start of on-sale hours, will take place without the service of alcohol. The application is also looking to include some additional activities, and these are wine, spirit and beer tastings to take place during core hours, food tasting events, charity events, quiz nights, product launches, promotions to be able to be provided both during and out with core hours. A takeaway facility will to be provided prior to and during core licensed hours for collection or delivery of telephone or online orders. And the final part of the application is to update the premises manager's details with Mr. Beattie's renewed personal licence. The report that we received points out that the requested opening hour of 9 AM is some 2 hours before police policy hours. Policy also states that each application should be determined on its own merits. And I think the merits of this application are that Mr. Beattie is an experienced and responsible operator. The restaurant prides itself on being a family-friendly restaurant. There's no intention here at all of the premises operating as a pub. It is a restaurant, and alcohol will only be served to customers between the hours of 9 and 11 who are ordering food. There's also a time limit on how long customers are in the restaurant for during breakfast service. Breakfast customers are allocated their table for 1 hour and 15 minutes. When the breakfast service finishes at 11, the restaurant's cleared to allow lunch service to commence. Customers will therefore not be allowed or be able to sit from 9 AM and drink all day. Staff are well trained and understand the need to monitor how much alcohol customers are consuming, and if necessary, will decline to provide further alcohol. The changes to Mr. Beattie's licence, if granted, will allow him to extend the offering at the restaurant after what has been a devastating time for the hospitality sector. I would ask that the board members consider this application on its own merits and commend the application. Happy to answer any questions if anyone has any questions.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Convener. Yes, I know it's been a devastating time for the hospitality industry and they have every sympathy from me. My only concern with this is if we say that opening hours for on sales can be from 9 AM, we're not restricting it to the Ruse Leap. If Mr. Beattie decides to sell the business, whoever buys it will also have that, like that hour for start, and they could turn it into a pub. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, they could, but I imagine that any application to do that would need to come before the board members.
Why would that be if they can supply alcohol from 9 AM?
Well, they wouldn't necessarily, but the condition would be there that alcohol is only served with food during that time. So if they were a pub and they're not offering food, then they wouldn't be able to do that.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Boyd?
I'm mute. Sorry, I have a question, but it's probably directed for Lindsay, to be honest. I totally get this, the devastation that has happened within the licensing trade, you know, and we all empathised at our last meeting about that too. But could we grant this for, say, a year only, so that the floodgates don't open for everyone else, etc.? I do empathise with the situation, but you know, if in either 1 to 2 years' time we're out of this problem and business is blooming and business is buzzing again, then is there something that we could then retract it or only give it for a 1 or 2 year period?
I don't think that would be an appropriate way to deal with a major variation. I think in terms of any kind of time limited amendment to a premises, it would be done by way of an occasional licence. So it would either be a case of saying no to the major variation and then looking at an occasional licence on an ongoing kind of regular basis. But I don't think there is provision within the Act for a temporary major variation. You either grant it or you refuse it and then deal with it through occasional licences.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Councillor Boyd. Councillor Donnell?
Thanks, Convener. I'm a wee bit worried about the 9 o'clock alcohol. I know that the restaurants booking the persons coming in. I've had family members who've been alcoholics and actually died from alcoholism, and I think having access to be able to go and have a breakfast and drink at 9 o'clock in the morning is a wee bit disturbing for myself. But I suppose if you have a restaurant and you're taking bookings, you would maybe make sure that people that maybe have a drink problem won't be booking in at 9 o'clock in the morning constantly to buy alcohol. That's the only worries I have about the 9 AM alcohol being served. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Donnell. Councillor Whiteside?
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, my question is regarding the 9 a.m. Start for selling alcohol as well. Appreciate the idea behind it, but it is out with our core hours. I'm just wondering how vital the provision of alcohol is to the business model. Do you think it would work without the alcohol licence?
I think providing the alcohol, it just gives a bit of flexibility. And obviously people who are maybe celebrating as, a special occasion want to come in, have a champagne breakfast or whatever. I don't know if Chris maybe wants to come in and add anything to that.
Yeah, of course. My thoughts really are regarding this is we've lost so much of our evening income at present. I'm looking just to add any value where I can, add value to the whole offering by offering Prosecco with breakfast, etc., to also increase the value of sales, to keep my staff employed, because we've had no evening service for almost a year now. And I envisage going forward, it's going to be a staged return to that. And this is an opportunity to bring people in for breakfast and create some more value to the business, bring people in and keep these people employed, really, and keep save my business. So that's what I'm really aiming to do here.
Can I just come back on that? I suppose my question is, would you still go ahead and do breakfast service without the alcohol licence, or is it? Yeah,
I'm going to try anything. At the moment, we'll be trying anything we can do, to be honest, And that was just something like, of course, we all travel around the world, and it's just something that's offered around the world. It's like, so we're not offering people that it's not going to be a bar service. People won't be here drinking. It's a short time on a table, a quick drink with breakfast, to add something unique that's not available elsewhere. That's my thoughts behind this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Beattie. Councillor King.
Thank you, Convener. It's really a question for Mrs. Kimmett. Would it be possible to condition the provision of breakfasts to that they must include food, so that they can only be alcohol can only be served if food is being served?
Yes, if the board were minded to grant such a condition, that would be possible.
I now have one for Mrs. Burrell. Why is it necessary to have outdoor drinking facilities before 9 o'clock Monday to Sunday?
Well, I think if we're having it before 9 o'clock, that would obviously be without the service of alcohol. And I think it just offers a bit more flexibility if people want to come in and have a coffee, stay at 8:30 if the premises is open at that time.
Yes, and creating outdoor noise at the same time?
No, not necessarily. I mean, if people want to come and sit outside in the sun and have a quiet coffee before they go to work, or, before they go and play golf, I don't think necessarily there would be a lot of noise. And as I've said already, staff are well trained and they're aware of all the licenses and objectives. So, anyone who's causing any trouble or any noise, would be spoken to.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor King. Councillor Fairweather.
Right, thank you, Convener. I know these premises very well. I visit them with family on numerous occasions, and I must say it's a well run establishment. It's not in a residential area. It's down by the golf club, so it's not as if there's any houses around it. I tend to agree with Councillor King, just to make sure that the food aspect is there if they're allowed to serve alcohol at 9 a.m. I think after the difficult times, right, with all the hospitality's had, I actually congratulate the Rouge Leap for coming forward, right, and trying to get their business back up and running. Every premises, as has been said, it has to be taken on its own merit. So we may get others coming in saying Rouge Leap has got 9, why can't we? But we will take those on merit, I'm quite sure. So I don't have any issues with this, and I would be moving to grant.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Fairweather. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Convener. Yes, I'm sure there was a question in there somewhere, but just a question for Mrs. Kimmett. Could these terminal hours of opening at 9 a.m. be conditioned to the current licensee only, so that if Mr. Beattie decides to sell the business and go elsewhere, the next licensee would not automatically have the start time of 9 a.m.
Councillor, the conditions attached to the premises, it's a premises licence, so that wouldn't be possible to attach conditions to an individual. The licence sits with the premises, so those conditions attached to that only.
Thank you.
Councillor Boyd?
Are we on to comments now?
I think, well, there's nobody else got their hands up for questions, so if there's no more questions, then we'll move to comments. Councillor King, choose a comment or a question?
Mine's a comment. Take Brian first.
Okay, we'll take Councillor Boyd first. On you go, Councillor Boyd.
Yes, I totally agree with Councillor Fairweather's comments. It is a well-run place, been there. I think there'll be a few faces around here that can't wait until we can all come back and have an the onion blossom that is one of the best starters in Angus. So that's the comments I would like to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Boyd. Councillor King?
Yes, convener. Basically, I was wondering whether or not you were going to pick up on my suggestion that these conditions only apply when food is being served. If not, I'm going to move that as an amendment.
Yeah, I was going to pick that up as we go through the variation anyway for the 9 o'clock.
Thank you, convener.
Thank you, Councillor King. Mrs. Kimmett, I saw you had your hand up, but it's gone down now.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay then, let's go to change the screen and we'll go through and obviously you'll see the ECP comments there that the service would have no objections to the proposals subject to the conditions prohibiting the playing of amplified music in the outdoor drinking area. So that'll cover some of it. Okay, now I'm just going to go through this slowly, and if the legal team, if I stray or get something wrong, Lindsay, if you just come in, because I can't see any of your hands now, I'm just looking at the screen. Okay, the description of the variation is the terminal hours opening times for the on sales changed to 0900 Monday to Sunday. They are out with policy, but I'm going to move that we grant these, providing that that alcohol will only be served when food is being served. Is that agreed?
Councillor, you may wish to, I just want to check that the board are clear that that would be between 9 and 11, that condition applies.
Yep.
Yes, because yes, because they've got it already from 11 o'clock anyway, don't they? So, okay, so that would be from 0900 to 1100 hours Monday to Sunday. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Number 2, the activities, you can see that 2A, B, and C. Are they agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
And the following activities services may take place in the public parts of the premises A, B, C, and D. Are they agreed?
Agreed.
And 3 other activities, 3A, B, and C. Are they agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Then on that basis, Mr. Beattie and Mrs. Burrell, thank you very much. Your application has been granted. And like the rest of the members, I wish you well in what you're trying to do. It has been a devastating time for everybody, but particularly the hospitality industry. And I have been at the Ruislip once or twice, not recently, but when it does get going again and we are allowed to go out and have meals, I will certainly pay you a visit because it's always good to support local businesses. So the best of luck, and it's nice to see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Convener?
Yes, Councillor Moore?
Just before we move on, ECP normally not only state not playing amplified music externally, but also that music shall not be played internally to be heard externally.
Externally. I think that's a standard condition anyway, but if somebody's here from ECP, I don't know who it is because I can't see all this. Is it Mr. Eason?
Have we got anybody?
I don't think we do, but I think that is a standard condition anyway, that you cannot sit outside and have music that's playing inside be heard outside. I'm sure that is standard. Mrs. Kimmett, can you confirm, is that a standard? Or Mr. Coleman, is that a standard condition anyway?
Yes, Mr. Convener, it is, and I would say that they already have an outdoor drinking area which already has that condition imposed on it, so that will carry over to their outdoor drinking area at all times.
So it's there anyway. Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 5 is the, my screen's jumping about here, is the COVID-19 update, support by the clerk to the board. We have the recommendations in front of us, and it is recommended that the board note the work undertaken remotely by officers since the last update in report LB 58/20, and note the legislative changes and resultant impact on board business since report LB 58/20. Do we agree to note these recommendations?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 6 are the occasional licenses granted under delegated approvals. Are they noted?
Noted.
Convener.
Yes, Councillor Moore.
Right. I'm getting concerned about the delegated occasional licenses, not for any concern about the officers, but I note that there is one there that has had 5 occasional licenses being granted now. And I've looked back, and there are a number of establishments that have had into double figures since July. Now, we do say it should be 4 in a year. I know they are exceptional times, but I wonder if officers could bring back a report, say, from the 1st of July last year, as to how many occasional licenses have been granted per establishment and possibly the reasons for them.
Now, Mrs. Kimmett or Mr. Coleman?
Yeah. Convener, would be happy to do that if board members wanted us to do that. I would say that in terms of premises that do apply for occasional licenses, some premises have been applying for more during the pandemic. We have been reminding them of the terms of the policy, encouraging them that a move to a full premises license will be required, and they're aware of those, and we are continuing to advise them of that. But if a report indicating which premises that applies to would be welcome, we'd be happy to do that.
Yes, because we had the problem in a certain part of the county, and I wouldn't like it to be starting all over.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor King? Councillor King, you're on mute.
I'm just wondering, Convener, if when the report comes forward, it could bring forward a recommendation which limits the frequency and the number of occasional licenses that could be granted to commercial companies or indeed organisations without them being agreed by the board. Because obviously the difficulty is that under delegated powers, we as board members are not seeing them until after they've been granted. If there was a limit on the number of occasional licenses that could be granted under delegated powers before they had to be brought before the board for approval, then the applicants might be keener to apply properly for a license, for a premises license and for a personal license, and that way become properly regulated under the full rigour of the Licensing Act. I think that if we were to see this particular one that we've got in front of us coming up as often as that, I certainly would be in 2 minds as to grant further occasional licenses, and would be encouraging them to apply for both a premises and a personal licence.
Thank you, Councillor King. Mrs. Kimmett, if the board agree to a report on this, is that something that can be included, what Councillor King's just mentioned?
We can certainly look at that. At the moment, it's in terms of your policy, it says that they simply require to be making movement towards a premises licence, but we can certainly look at what Councillor King has raised there and address that in a future report and look into if that's possible when we bring that next report.
Okay, thank you. So members, do we agree then to a report about this issue coming to a future board meeting? Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 7, premises licenses, minor variations under delegated approvals. We're asked to note these. Is that noted?
Noted.
Thank you. Agenda item number 8, Personal licenses under delegated approvals, do we agree to note these?
Noted.
Thank you. And the final item, premises licenses under the Licensing Scotland Act 2005, licenses surrendered, do we agree to note these?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of the board business. Thank you. Mrs. Anderson, we're just going to continue with
Sorry,
this one.
John, will you